about what we do and how it's impacted my life, and actually how Logan told me that you're going to be speaking for the sermon. And so I was like, man, I'm going to be preaching. Y'all must really not like these sermons or something. I'm just kidding. We love sermons. But hopefully I don't mess up or anything. But I'll be talking to you about the youth. My name is Justice Armstrong. And so first I'll be talking about what we do in the youth. So first off, we do a lot of things at youth. I do prayer breakfast each quarter with the youth group. And so I've been serving these homeless people breakfast since I was 4 years old, standing up in a chair. And I mean, the people just recognize me, and they just love the kids serving the breakfast to them. It really brings hope and happiness into their lives. Another thing we do is that we deliver the Christmas trees to Trinity House, and we shop for these Christmas families. And again, we just try and bring happiness into the poor lives. Another big thing we do each summer is we go on a mission trip and we help there. Just this past summer, we were helping paint and roof a guy's house named Hugh, or we nicknamed him Fly. We already heard about that mission trip story. And I'm also on the Youth Advocacy Council representative talking about it. And another big thing is that I help Logan before these big Sunday nights, like tonight when we have Nerf wars. It's kind of a pain to pick up those Nerf bullets, but I still help with it. There's like a million of those things. You never know where they're going. Another thing, I'm going to be going on to the second question of how it's impacted my life. Now, first off, I joined this youth when I was in 6th grade, and so I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be with older people, I'm going to be with youth, I'm going to go to these youth parties, and actually I was right about all of that. But another thing I wasn't expecting is how much of a family that the youth has been to me. It's a second family and it's a second home. I go here every Wednesday, every Sunday, and they treat me like I'm their family. And I really feel like I've come closer to God being at this youth. And I really have to thank Logan for that, because he's just always there for me. He always encourages me, and he's just my role model at this youth. So I've really seen at this youth that God has guided me, and I've seen God just guide all the other youths and just make them be better, do better things in the world. And another thing is that this youth has really affected me in my everyday life. I act different at school, and I just do different things out that because I've been going to this youth, and it's really just made me have a different look on life. So I really feel like the youth family, they just encourage me. They believe in me. Of course, I believe in them, and I encourage them. And I really feel like I belong here, that God is calling to me, that Logan is calling to me to be at this youth. And I think anybody who joins will see that God can change them.
Well, it's a great pleasure for me to be here and tell you about my love affair with Trinity. First of all, Justice did a great job, and those of you who are youth and are not a part of that, don't you want to be? And don't you want your kids to be? So I hope you'll join Justice. My love affair with Trinity began probably with a journey that started 14 years ago when God led my path to Columbus, Georgia. I've long since stopped taking that class and trying to figure out what God's doing. I keep failing it. So instead of trying to think about why God is doing things, I just hold a whole lot of gratitude in my heart for what he's doing for me. So 13 and a half years ago, I walked through those doors, and immediately, even before I found my home here in Columbus, I knew I had found my church home. And I've never been anywhere since. And so Trinity to me is home. And I think I have all of you to thank for that. It's not because there's such a grand architectural structure that stands here on this spot, although it is grand. It's not because the stained glass windows and the wonderful wood beams attracted me. They are certainly awesome as well. But it was the presence that I felt in this place. I felt God residing here. God lives here because the people bring a little bit of him into this place. And I could feel the prayers of so many people who worshiped so many years long before I came, right here within these walls. And I wanted to be a part of that, and I'm glad to be a part of that. So now I've been here 13 years, and I hope to always be right here. Aside from being present with you at worship, which I certainly enjoy doing and praying with you, I've also had the opportunity over the years to start with Children's Chapel. I'm sure you've done it in the past before, but when I came, there was none. And so Ruth Cummings and I started doing that. And I started to learn with your little bitty ones about the traditions of this church, about why the altar looks like it is, and all those things, in order to be able to help them to understand it as well. So I grew as they grew in their knowledge. And then I began teaching older kids. And again, you know, when you work with 12-year-olds, you really got to know what's going on. So they helped me to learn enough so that I can impart some of that on to them as they prepare for their confirmation, their acceptance of Christ on their own. I work with youth. My boys were growing up in this church, as many of you know. And my oldest said, it's not because I'm so religious, it's just because there are a lot of good people here doing good things. And so that's why he was so active. And that led me to youth missions. And I learned again about what service means really by working with youth missions. My youngest, Matthew, grew up in that same situation. He saw his brother, and he didn't realize he had a choice but to do the same thing. And so that was easy for me. I didn't have to work on that very hard. And so Tom one day said, you know, I'm going to miss my Sunday school class, so would you teach it for me? There was a guest that Sunday, I believe, and he was busy with that guest, and so I prepared really long and hard. And then when I came to Sunday school, everybody was talking with the guest, and they didn't come to Sunday school at all. But you know what I learned? I learned that I learn as much and I grow as much in preparation as I do as taking part in Sunday school. And so I've continued in adult Christian development here, and I've learned so much. As you can tell, I occasionally get to help at the altar, and it's my joy, my pleasure, and my blessing to be a part of that with you. All in all, I think we all have our gifts to bring. We all have our presence to bring, certainly, to be a part of that body of Christ that we're called to be. That body of Christ is called the church. And so without you here, present here, then we're not the church we're meant to be. Also, we're called to participate. Whatever gifts that we are given, we're called to share those gifts here in this place and outside the walls. And so I've got a chance, or not just a chance, but a precious opportunity. I've been blessed to be able to share some of those gifts with you. And I've grown in the sharing. And so participation is so key, I think. And then finally, you know, this place doesn't function unless there are pledges. And it is also a blessing to pledge. And I do that gratefully and humbly. And so all of these things, our presence, our participation, my presence, my participation, and my pledges, are what has allowed me to be a part of this community. My growth here has been tremendous. My Christian walk has been still ongoing. God's not through with me yet, but it is certainly moving in the right direction, and I owe it all to my time here at Trinity, my participation in the ministries that I've been involved with. I've left out a few, I'm sure, but that's not the whole point. The point is that we have something to share, and in the sharing, we seem to receive far more than we ever give. And so I invite you to be present, to participate wholly, and to pledge and be a part of this family. And I thank you so much for the blessing of being a part of that as well. So in the words of Barnes Gump, That's all I got to say about that.
Good morning. Thank you, Peggy and Justice. Justice, you beat me up here by a long shot. You know, for all these years of lay ministry that I've been participating in, this is my first opportunity to actually fill the sermon time in the pulpit. And it's a great joy, and thank you, Tim, for inviting me to do that. It reminds me of something that happened a long time ago in our family. Frost and Walter and I used to come to the church a lot during the years that I was working in the Sunday school program. And we spent a lot of time down here. And one time in their presence, Lloyd said, well, if I don't watch out, you're going to be down there preaching soon. So one day, Frost, I was on my soapbox at home about something. It didn't have anything to do with church, but I can do that every now and then. And Frost looked at me with a twinkle in his blue eyes, and he said, preach it, Mama Nell. Here I am, preaching it today, Frost. And they never let me forget that. Anytime they got into a little bit of trouble and I started fussing at them, they would say, preach it, Mama Nell. So here I am, and I promise not to preach to you or at you. But I do appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little of what lay ministry for about 60 years has meant in my life. It started in the youth group in the Methodist Church in Bainbridge, Georgia, and it continues right here in the Episcopal Church. Through those 60 years of lay ministry, always I have been the beneficiary of the lay ministry that I chose to be involved in, or that God led me to. Lay ministry has given me a wonderful family of very special friends, and that family just keeps growing. It has taught me patience and humility. It has brought me caring and encouragement and laughter and love. Most of all, lay ministry has helped me to grow in faith and prayer and has brought me closer to my Lord and Savior. This morning I want to share with you how God has worked through lay ministry to teach me to pray. My parents and Sunday school teachers encouraged me to pray using memorized prayers first, as maybe many of you do with your children, and as I taught my children. And we prayed mostly before meals and at bedtime. Well, my prayer life didn't progress very much until I joined Trinity. And I was asked to teach Sunday school and asked to join what we called then the Associate Vestry. I was introduced through those lay ministries to some strong people of faith. Mary Ward Trussell would tell me, we've got to pray about this, Nell, and pray together we did. Sometimes right then, sometimes as we walked for exercise, sometimes at Sunday school meetings. Frances Morton called me one day, and she asked me if I would pray for Trinity Church. She was calling others and asking them to pray for Trinity Church, and she said, I'll never ask you again if you pray. Trinity needs prayer. Please pray for Trinity. Well, I did, and I started remembering Trinity in my prayers at night. And I've tried to remember every night since then. Then my good friend Ida Page asked me to teach a class with her. And we chose a book called Listening Prayer. From that study, a group of us formed a prayer group on Tuesday morning. We met in the Chapel of the Holy Spirit and began a prayer ministry to intentionally pray for the church, for parishioners who had asked for prayer, for things that were going on at Trinity or any other needs that we saw. And that prayer ministry is still going on today on Wednesday mornings. Because of the prayer ministry, I began to pray for my family and friends. I began to realize that when I prayed the day ahead, that day was more productive and happier. When I prayed about family decisions, the decisions were sound and produced good results. The prayer ministry led to more Bible study, to a healing ministry, and now to the prayer breakfast. Praying with our friends who come for breakfast on Sunday mornings has helped me to grow in humility and faith. As these men and women come to God with what seems like totally insurmountable problems, yet they have the faith that God will help them, and they have the faith that moves mountains. I attribute the growth in my prayer life and in my faith to becoming involved in lay ministry. Through the people that I meet here at Trinity and the work that we are doing together, I have grown closer to God. So my life has been more richer and more meaningful with each year. As I consider different lay ministries to be involved in each year, I pray for God to help me with the decision of which one to be involved in. And I also try to remember the words of a song that I love. Here am I, Lord. It is I, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me, and I will hold your people in my heart. Thank you.
My name is Bill Scranton. In case you forgot. You have to kind of challenge the intellectual level of a priest who would ask a lawyer to make a few brief comments. I got to add to that there's a little bit of disingenuousness in that. And this is not a joke. He didn't make a mistake. He knew if he put my name in the bulletin, nobody would come. Honestly, I consider everything that I have done at Trinity a ministry. Although you may not realize that initially. Many things we do because we were asked to do them. We just do them, but then, after a while, the sense of ministry hits you. I serve as an usher. That's a perfect example. I've been doing it for a long time, but it has become a ministry. It's not just a job. It adds to the service, it helps the service, and we need more ushers. I've served on several other committees, which I first thought were my duty, and then they became ministries to me. Things we realize are necessary to the health and continuation of our church. A way of serving God, which adds, sometimes imperceptibly, to our spiritual life. Just showing up for church services is a ministry. One that is motivated, of course, by love of the Lord and Jesus Christ, and as well as our fellowship with one another. So, sitting here today is a ministry. When you come, that incites and inspires others to come. When we joined Trinity while I was in the Army in 1956, we were immediately involved in the adult Sunday school class. Back then, It was a mini church service, those of you that may remember that, in competition with the major church service. But after that, I began to teach. What a wonderful opportunity for me to really begin to read and interpret Scripture. It always means more to the teacher than to the student. And a perfect illustration of that is this same Mary Boyd Trussell that Nell mentioned asked me to work with her to teach a confirmation class of 12-year-olds. Probably one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. That was a tough crew. The best I came out of that with was that they called me Mr. Sacramento. And actually one of them was in church at 8 o'clock. I never knew so many people in town got up at 8 o'clock in the morning. But this young man was there and he remembered that. Our membership here for 57 years has given me the opportunity to serve in various capacities. As a member of search committees, vestries, all of which took time, but which made me feel so proud and useful. My service as a senior warden ranks near the top of my meaningful ministries. Traditionally, I was the rector's warden, which brought me into a close relationship with the rectors I served. A relationship that shows you how difficult it is to try to be all things to all people. To think that just by listening and offering advice, I was helping this man of God made me feel 10 feet tall. Perhaps my most meaningful ministry has been with the St. Francis Committee since its inception. I have always felt our role as a downtown church was to reach out to those less fortunate. How gratifying to see how our money is used, hopefully pleasing to God. My most difficult ministry comes with my service with Polly as a prayer breakfast team leaders. I wrestle with the devotional I will give to these people who have not been blessed as materially as I have been. But then I remember that it is our relationship with God that counts. He is in charge, and I do my best to remind them of that, and that turning their lives over to Him is more important than anything else. I can guarantee you that if you will volunteer or serve when asked to help this church and spread its ministry, you will never regret it. Not only will it help the church and those we serve both in and out of the church, it will enrich your own life as you go about doing God's